Hello all. Right, in this video I'm going to be taking apart the electronic chessboard. In the previous video that I've done regarding taking things apart, I tossed the coin between the electronic chessboard and an old clock. And the clock, that was heads for the clock, tails for the chessboard, and heads came up. So in the last video I've done the clock. So as promised, like I said in the previous video, I will do now the next one, which is this electronic chessboard. I'm going to basically take it up to the back A's, get the pasting table out and take it apart to see what's inside it. In case you don't know about these videos, if you haven't seen them before, all these things were going to be getting thrown out anyway. I got this from a friend of mine and we're going to be just going into the skip. Now he knows that I do videos by taking things apart, so he basically donated some of this stuff for me to make videos for. So this electronic chessboard, I'm just going to get the toolbox out and the screwdrivers out, and I'm just going to strip it down, totally disassemble it to its bare elements to see what's inside it, like I've done on the previous videos. And the box, I don't play chess, so I don't really know anything about this. I just want to see what's inside it, really, ultimately. So it does look in good condition. It doesn't look as though it's been used very often. Well, I don't really know how it's been used, or as I say, I don't play chess, so it's new to me what's inside it. I've never seen inside these things. I do it to satisfy my own curiosity, and I make the videos to share with you and anyone else that's got a similar curiosity like myself, that just wants to see what's inside these things. So my dad was he's an electrician and electrical engineer. He's retired now, and when I was a kid back in the 70s, 80s, I used to watch my dad repair things, and the curiosity stayed with me ever since, right up to my current time. So I've never kind of like forgotten, I've never stopped being interested. I've always been interested to see what's inside things like that, and other stuff, other like microwaves, washing machines. I've took a cooker apart, I've done that in my videos before. So it's a natural curiosity for me, and for anybody else that wants to, like myself, that wants to see inside it for that reason. Now I must stress that I'm not an electrical engineer, and so don't quote me on the stuff. This video is only for entertainment purposes only. It's not to be taken as a quotation or quote, because don't quote me. I'm not an electrical engineer, a qualified electrical engineer. My dad is, but if I get stuck, if I want to know something, I'll go and ask him, and then I'll just relay it through on the video to use. So, right, next protocol is to get this up to the back edge. I'll get my pasting table out. The reason I do it, if you haven't seen this video already, like I've mentioned before, the reason I take my part outside is for three main reasons. Firstly, it doesn't make a mess inside the house. Secondly, it doesn't disturb others in the house. And thirdly, most important of all, it's more uniformly lit outside. The sky and the natural light is much better for filming when you're opening up components. For example, inside the house where there's only one light source, you get lots of shadow, and it's not there's dark areas and that. It's not so easy to film. I don't have a sort of professional camera or anything like that. I just use a camera phone. So I decided to do it outside, where it's much more lit up and there's less problems with shadows when you're going into intricate parts like that of the TV set that I've done, and the microwave oven in particular. A lot of cavities within the unit, which poses light issues. So if I do it outside, it's more lit up. Right, I'm going to get up to the back edge, get the pasting table, get the shot of my dad's toolbox, and I'll start taking this thing apart. So this will be the last time that it will be seen in this form, because when I'm finished with it, it'll be total bits. It'll be disassembled, and it will be thrown in the skip. But before it does, I like to learn about what's inside it. I'll show you closer at the make and the rest of it. Right, at the backs, I've got some batteries. I'm going to see if this thing actually works. So I put the three AAA batteries in. They're in the correct way, and just want to see how it works before I take it apart. There doesn't seem to be much going on. I've hit every button, well I'm going to hit every button, or touch every button, press every button rather, see if we can get a response. I'm not, it's probably the reason why it was chucked out. I haven't missed any buttons. The batteries were working. No, not working. I was going to get one last look of it. Oh, we're actually going to get the first time I've ever seen it on. I've never seen it on, so I was hoping to maybe switch it on, but nothing's happening. So I'm just going to get straight on with taking it apart. The thing I'll do is get the batteries back out. These are good batteries and I'll be keeping them obviously. These are my batteries. Now, hang on a minute. Just hang on a second. I wonder if something was causing these batteries. If it was insulation going over there to... Before I... Because I've seen this thing coming out there. I don't know if that's went over any of the terminals or anything. Even with that out, I thought that might have been the cause. It's maybe covering the terminals, but it isn't. So it's clearly not working. And the batteries were in the correct way and they were set in the right way. So it's probably the reason why, as I say, why it's been thrown out. But anyway, it needs Phillips screwdrivers. It's Phillips screws in order to remove the bottom of this thing. So I've got a Phillips screwdriver. They're quite tight, these little screws. There's quite a few to come out as well. So I'm going to basically work my way around here to get the bottom of this. There's all these screws to come out. Thinking when I was taking the screws out, what I did forget to show you was the actual chessboard pieces. They were inside the box. Not this one, much to see, it's just the pieces and the labels and the game, the rules. I don't play chess, so I don't really know. As I say, I just put that in there. I was putting the screws into the box and I just realised these bits were in there and I forgot to show you. So it would suggest to me that it's never been used before. I don't know why it wasn't working when I put batteries in them. Doesn't really matter anyway, I'm not a chess player. I just want to see what's inside it. It wasn't working when I put the batteries in, so as far as I could say, it doesn't work. They're all, I mean, it's been stored for, I don't know for how long it's been stored away, or if it got damaged or what, I don't know. But the batteries were fine, they were in the right way. Press every button to see if we can get it to work. Just instructions here. I haven't opened it yet. I'll just put the batteries back in and just want to try something. There's this reset button. I was having a wee look through the instructions of this ACL function. I'm going to get a pin and reset that because I pressed the on and off button or the go start thing, nothing's working. So I'm going to get a pin for the toolbox and see if that will get it to work. Right, so we've got something. Well, I did a minute ago. It's making a noise. Now these are actually magnetic, I think. So it's probably the first time it's ever been on. I mean, I don't know how to play chess by the way, so don't even bother trying to explain how to do it because I'm not overly interested. I just want to see what's inside the machine. I'm interested obviously, but just not at this stage. I don't play chess, but at a later time. At the moment I just want to have a look inside the guts of this computer. Now I put the batteries back in, there was an ACL button or something I read there. I used to press it with a small pin. Well, I used the bradawl and that reaches into it and I was able to get this thing to work. So as I say, I'm just going to see it in action, see it in live before it's terminally destroyed by the time I'm finished with it. So I'm just hitting buttons. I've no idea just what the game is. I've not got time. I certainly do not have the time to go reading through all this, and I'm not going to do it, so no chance. Just having a wee mess around with it just to see what sort of interesting stuff. I thought these might have lit up or something. Yep. So I just say I just messing the bolt with it quite literally. But there is some sort of magnetic, must be like a sensor on here or something, because it counts the points. There's obviously something at the bottom of them that goes up, you know. Yeah, so as I say, I'm not sure just basically pissing the bolt with it, to be honest with you. And so there's all the bits and components of the game out. It obviously wouldn't be an expensive thing because it wouldn't be chucking it out if it was of any value. Yeah, so I mean it wouldn't be of any value because he wouldn't have been throwing it out otherwise. So I thought they may have lit up, but they don't. It doesn't seem to be, not that I'm aware of. Anyway, then you've seen the digital display, you've heard it making a noise, you've seen the bits on it. It's time to rip the guts out of it now. So yeah, as I say, it's going to be getting thrown out anyway. There's nobody I know that plays chess, so it's probably quite cheap. I wouldn't have expected it to be of any expensive, of any real value, because if it were, it wouldn't be getting thrown out. So, time to get on with it. I'm just going to get the screwdriver out and start getting inside it. Oh, they were actually magnetic. Obviously, that's something that I wasn't aware of. Oh, and there is a bit of a light there, in the liquid crystal display. So what if that was magnetic with the power off? The batteries are out now. They are actually permanent magnets because it's just so that they don't move. You don't accidentally move it during the game, you know, it doesn't get bumped. Well, if it gets bumped, it doesn't upset the game. It's just little magnets in the bottom. So back to getting on with the task at hand, which is to get all these screws out and get the bottom off it, and reveal the guts of it, see what's inside this little computer. Now it's fairly easy, it's just a case of going wrong with this Phillips screwdriver and slacking on all these screws. Right, so I've took all the screws out, and it seems that these bits slide off, and so they just basically, bits of plastic slide over this, and I'm going to guess now that this bit here is going to come out, the centre bit. Now, it's not very easy doing this with filming, but it's the little feet that just came off there. So I'm guessing this unit will come out. So there is something preventing it from coming out. I don't quite know what's stopping it. I've got all the screws out, so it's still wanting to stay located in there. There is like locating pins, doubles. I've got to get the light on, see if it'll reveal it. I've got the screwdriver in there now, but there is some sort of locking doubles or something that's preventing it from coming out. But I'll find a way, and if it doesn't come out, then I'll just resort to plan B. So I hear you ask, what's plan B? Well, plan B is this: I make it up as I go along. I got that off an episode of Airwolf, the Stalingrad incident. Airwolf TV show, American show back in the 80s, and there was a part part 2 called the Stalingrad incident. It was regarding a nuclear power station in Soviet territory, and the Airwolf had to come to the rescue. And the Airwolf team, when they broke into the nuclear facility, and one of the guy asked his mate, we need a diversion, and he says, I don't do diversions, and he says, well, what do we do now? And the guy says, well, we'll go to plan B. And he goes, what's plan B? We make it up as we go along. And the guy was like that, and then he just grabs him and says, get on with it. So if that's what I do, I just wing it and I'll just go to plan B. So if I don't get a way of getting that off, I'll just break it off. I'll find a way. I've just got to figure out how I'll get this out. I'm going to start getting on with it. Well, I've actually had a wee look, and I suspect it might have something to do with the battery tray. This seems to be the centre of it, but it seems to be not coming apart company. So we have to find a way of releasing this base from here, because that will be fixed onto the inside, the circuit board of the silver bit and this plastic shrouding, which looks like all this plastic casing. To separate it, I'm going to have to find a way of separating it from the battery box. Discovered now what the problem was. It was this thing here. On the other side of that is a pillar, and there's obviously a screw that's hidden under there, under this rubber thing. That was the, I kind of suspected it, but it was the problem. And there is a screw under there, which so there is. It popped that out there. That was the hidden screw. That was the reason why it didn't want to come off without a little bit of gentle persuasion. Not that it really matters now, because it's off now. That's where it fitted. So that was the reason why it was being stubborn. It was hidden out of view. I haven't got an instruction manual, a service manual or anything like that. I kind of suspected it was going to be something along those lines. I didn't see that was getting held, causing any problems, so I assumed it because that just was like a feet, if you like, to keep the device sitting level on the table. There's 5 of them, there's that, and that. And under this centre one, I kind of had a feeling, a sneaky feeling that it could have been something along this area that was preventing it from coming up. And it wasn't until I actually used a bit of gentle persuasion to get this off, then I realised that it was in fact fixed on with another screw. Because under there, that's the feet, there's no any screws under there. So I'm going to pull off to absolutely convince myself that there isn't. I managed to get it off and there isn't any other screws under there. So it was just under there, it was that hidden screw that made it difficult to get off. But anyway, it's off now. And this will never work again. It was never intended on getting kept anyway. It's finished. It was destined for the bin anyway. So, but before it goes out to the bin boringly, I thought, well, it gives me an opportunity to take it apart and see what's inside it. So there isn't an awful lot inside it. That I would say would be the main brain, the microprocessor. It's just like a calculator. I think that's what it's like, isn't it? A game of chess, it just calculates things. Something similar to a pocket calculator. It'll be calculating out all the moves and, you know, the points and whatever it is you play chess. But that'll be the main circuit, I would reckon. So you've got the liquid display on the other side. There may even be a processor under the circuit board. So there's one way of finding out. It's a Phillips screwdriver to get that circuit board out. I'm going to find out by removing that circuit board. And it requires the Phillips screwdriver again. So let's start removing these screws to reveal what's on the other side of this printed circuit board, of which I believe the mother chip, which is that, is located on, and possibly maybe another chip underneath there. But we will soon find out, shall we? So, dead easy to get them out. They're not really Loctited in or anything. They're coming out fairly straightforward. So that's the screws removed, and that's on the other side of the circuit board. So I'm beginning to think maybe that mother chip has got a lot to do with the liquid crystal display, which has just came off. Must have just been a press fit. There's a little. I will break into this later, but not at this moment. What I'm going to do actually is I'm going to put the batteries back in and just power it up again. Stick the batteries back in. No, it's only battery operated voltages. It's not regarded as lethal voltages. It's only batteries, 3 AAA batteries. So that's the reason why I'm messing about with it outside in the rain with no covers on. It's not good practice to power anything up when it's in bits out in the rain, and you don't, you're not an electrician in that. I wouldn't advise anybody doing this. This video is only for entertainment purposes. So my advice is just don't mess around with anything electrical. But the voltages in the battery operated thing, you know. I'm going to stick the batteries in anyway and see what happens. You would never do that with a mains operated thing because the voltages in there are lethal. Anything that plugs into the wall in your house, that voltage could kill you. So you just didn't mess around, you respect that. Do not mess around with mains voltage stuff. Anything over 50 volts is regarded as lethal. So didn't piss around with anything like that. This is only batteries, this is just wee AAA batteries, so you know, it's not good practice to do that. And so I wouldn't advise anybody to mess around with anything it's electrical. But I'm doing it anyway, so you don't have to. But no, it's just small voltages. But do not mess around with mains voltage stuff. My dad always drummed that into me when I was a kid. He's an electrician and he was an electrical safety engineer as well. But he does other things as well, mechanical work and all that stuff. But yeah, he made that very clear to me at a very young age. That's why at the age I am now, I've stayed alive by not messing them. Right, I'm going to get on with it. I'm going to get the batteries in just to see what happens. Batteries in it. But I think with this coming off, you certainly won't see anything on the display. But there's no sounds. I reckon that would be the speaker there. You know, the bit that makes the buzzing sound. I'm guessing that's what that is. It's not really a speaker, but it's the noise, the alarm, whatever it is. It's a little buzzer. There must be something in there that vibrates at a high frequency that causes the sound. I'm not quite sure how these work. It's not like a paper cone speaker, but there is. I'm guessing that's what that will be anyway. Nothing. That was the batteries. There's no any sound. The reset button was here because to reset it, I had to put a. Oh, I did speak to us. That did make a noise. Right, okay. But that's on the other side of the. But this fell out, so there wasn't really any. There wasn't. I didn't. It just, as I say, that display thing just fell out, so it just must make contact with these. How it gets its power, I don't know. I'm not quite sure how these things work. Liquid crystal display, but I'm going to break into it later on, into the actual display later. But I did speak to us. I don't know where the sound came. It was a noise for me. Just to press some of these buttons. Because I haven't broke any wires yet, so it's still, the circuit's complete. As I say, you'd never ever do that if it was mains voltage. So this is just battery power, so it's not enough to kill you. It's not enough to kill an adult. But as I say, I don't advise anybody messing with any electrical stuff if they don't know what they're doing. So I've said my bit, and I'll leave it at that. So, nah, nothing. Like I suspected, this board at the back doesn't light up. There's nothing. There's no bulbs or anything that light up. The sound producer must have been. Is that? I'll move the battery again. I'll put it back in and see what does it. Now there was a reset button. There was. Ah, yeah, there it is. There. There's the reset. I'm just pressing it with my hand. Because when you, it says to insert a pin through the bottom, through that hole, I think it was. It was one of the two. Can't remember which one it was, but it doesn't matter anyway. But ultimately, all you're doing is pressing down on there. That's the reset switch there. So it's hooked up. Press the reset for at least a second, and that's the power on. I know it was the top left. So it's not making any noise anymore. So, as I say, the display won't show nothing because that's just the display cover lens. That's the actual display, which, as I say, I'll break into later. So I'm going to take the batteries out now. There's nothing really happening. I made a wee couple of beeps and then that was it. Which this, I think, would be responsible for the noise. So on the other side, these switches, this is the rubber, they go through the front of the dress panel, basically like that. That's all that's happening there. So that's the bit that you're pressing. And on the back, this just seems to go out of focus. Put the light on. On the back, these button bits that you're pressing make contact with them. That's the button there. Let's make it cut. So there's obviously a circuit being made. There must be something in there, because that makes contact with these. And you can see where the pins, these rubber pins, go into the holes on the circuit board. So it's going like such. And then when you're pressing it, the dress panel on the front, it's like such. It's not untidily at the moment, but just to give you a rough idea how it works. I'm trying to educate myself about that, just having a look at what's going on, like using my knowledge, because I'm just guessing. Now that's what it looks like before I've ripped this off. These rubber bits fit into the board. That's the locating holes for the rubber button pad. It's just made of rubber. and that's the contacts. Tells you what they do as well. Get the light off now, save the battery on my phone. So these are obviously sensors, resistive sensors, I'm guessing. When you press the button and makes contact, it must cause the circuit to complete, which operates the system. We've got a resistor there, a couple of capacitors, well, a few capacitors. That's the ribbon wire. That just plugs into the circuit board. On the other side of that, yeah, there's got to be sensors in here to know where you've positioned the magnetics, because these have got magnets at the bottom. The game pieces have magnets at the bottom, which obviously has to be detected via the sensors that are in there. And then there's this ribbon wire coming from this assembly, which I'll break into later, and it connects up to the circuit board, which will obviously then go into through the circuit board, through all the resistors and stuff, and into the motherboard, which will take all the commands. I'm not quite sure what that is. I'm not quite sure just what that component is. Quartz maybe, I don't know. Maybe quartz for setting the frequency for the time. There's a big long capacitor there as well. You can see that. There's these smaller capacitors, there's tiny resistors. That's the printed circuit board, there's the actual wires that are in, but that's the pathway for the electricity, the electronics. So the electric current will go along there and along the circuit board, through all the capacitors, and that's the smooth out current, by the way. The capacitors are just to store charge, and I'm guessing it's to keep things nice and smooth. Any pulses will upset this, so it's got to be a smooth, steady flow. Because these are sensitive. I'll break into that as well. I'll break into that, I'll do the snips, I'll just snip through them and see what's in there. The reset button is held in with two tiny Phillips screws. I don't think this screwdriver will... Well, actually it does, it's a very sharp screwdriver, and it seems to be working. It's taking out these tiny screws. You need like a precision set of screwdrivers to get into a lot of these small components. The reset switch is removed. It's just that silver bit that makes contact with the base. It completes the circuit. There's nothing on the other side. It's just a Formica printed circuit board, and that will go into the... And there seems to be a lot of this glue stuff that holds things together. This keeps things tidy. There's this glue substance to stop wires from moving around. That's your main battery terminals for your power feed. Going into the circuit to power things up. I'm going to remove this as well. I'm just going to pry this, because this, I think it's adhesive. It's glued on. So I'm going to get the sound producer off, and I'll just remove the whole electrical bit off this bit, and then I'll break into there later. Moved it, everything. Just use snips to cut the wires. That's the bottom of the sound producer thing. There must be something in there that vibrates at a high frequency. It only has to produce a set tone. It's not like a full-on speaker that has a paper cone to produce acoustic music. It's just a couple of beeps and stuff. That's all it needs to do, so it's not very sophisticated. It doesn't need to have an awful lot. It just needs to make one note, really. It just has to make a few beeps and that's it. So there's not a lot in it. And I'm sure that's the component responsible for the sound. The ribbon cable wire, it's just hooks on to the main circuit board via it's like a plug. Well, it sleeves in it. These contacts slide into there, and that's what makes contact with the main circuit board. And as I say, that white bit's for the display, liquid crystal display. So that, I won't forget to. In fact, I'm going to break into this now, and then after I'm going to just use snips and just going to bite right into it. I'm just going to snip it in two and burst into it. That way, I'll get into it, see if anything exciting happens. And then there must be something in there, magnets. So I'll break into that afterwards. So I'm going to see what's in this liquid crystal display now. I did notice when I was putting snips on it, is when I put pressure, it was kind of changing. You know, it's the liquid crystals reacting. There isn't any energy going there, but it's just you can see how it's. Now I've just snipped right into it. Now I don't know if it's toxic. I wouldn't want to be touching any of that stuff, to be honest. I don't think it'll do you any good. But that's what's in it. There's not really an awful lot to be sure. To be fair, I feel quite sad breaking it like that, but it was just going to be getting thrown at the skip anyway. So at least now I'm doing it in the name of science, so to speak, and just doing it in the name of curiosity and seeing what's inside it. So it's going to get broken. I might as well learn from it. I'm applying a lot of pressure with the screwdriver, and it's a glass screen. Oh, that was, look at that. I don't know if you've seen that. Look what it's doing now. Look at that. Now it's going away again. Now it's sort of going back again. So I must work on a kind of magnetic system or something. It must be. I don't quite know how these things work, if it's got iron oxides in it that move on a magnet principle. Sort of similar, I don't know if it's like a tape, you know, a cassette tape that uses magnetic. It's iron oxide that's setting a pattern, sets up a frequency for the music. Unlike a record, a vinyl, the vibrations is caused by the mechanical movement of the needle going over the grooves on a record, but the liquid crystal might work on a kind of, when it's energised, it will make the crystals move in a certain pattern to form the digits. Now, obviously it's just a complete mess now, but I'm not actually going to handle that because it could be, I don't reckon it will do my skin any good. Oh, look at it, I dropped it. I did the help of a pair of needle nose pliers and use that to hold on to it. And just at the moment, I'm just messing on, but I'm just squeezing it, and you can see how it's reacting. So that's inside. I'll put the light on. That's inside a burst or a severed liquid crystal display unit. The edges, it's mainly glass, and I think there must be like a fine, thin film of crystal. So like I say, when you're messing around and things like that, obviously that being glass, you've got to have, like, you know, you've got to watch that cut yourself. The chemicals, there's all sorts of chemicals that are going to producing the electronic components. Might not be a good idea to come into contact with that. I don't really know what they do, but it's best not to touch that kind of stuff if you're messing around with stuff like what I'm doing and just messing about with it. But you got to be careful, obviously. As I say, there's lots of chemicals that go into making the components. As I say, I don't think it would be wise to get that in contact with your skin, because it could seep through into your skin and into your bloodstream. There's all sorts of iron oxides and you know. But I'm being careful. Anyway, next thing I promised I was going to do is break into the. Actually, I'm going to break into this last thing. The next thing I'm going to break into is the motherboard. I'm going to just snip into that, see what's inside it. Snips, by the way, pierce into things like that. You apply an awful lot of pressure on there, bits go flying as a result when it snaps. It's a good idea to have goggles, or at least close your eyes when you're doing it, so they don't go flying into your eye. As I say, that's glass. I'm going to crack. Now, it's a similar principle what I'm going to do with this. I know it's brittle, but it's going to get chopped and skipped anyway, and I want to know what's inside there, so here it goes. Right, so I've snapped into it. I took a little bit of pressure. It sounded destructive, which it obviously is. It's going to go into the back of the bin lorry and get crushed anyway, so I'm going to learn before. I wouldn't learn nothing if I'd done it that way. Doing it this way, at least I'm going to learn. I'm going to see what's inside it. I'm not really, I feel sad breaking into things like that, breaking components, but it's, you know, it's like, what has it done to me? All the appreciation that it's done. I do, once it's broken, that's it, it's never going to work again, And like, you know, I just destroyed it. But I've got to look at it this way. It's going in the back of the bin lorry, it's going to get, or back of whatever, the skip truck, and it's going to go to the incinerator and get destroyed anyway, or recycled, or whatever the heck they do with it. But eventually, ultimately it's going to be getting destroyed, so I might as well destroy it and learn from it. And there's what's inside the motherboard chip. That would be the most expensive part. And I've just put a set of snips right through it with an almighty crack. And it reveals not an awful lot. It's silicon chip, I guess. As I say, I'm being careful with this. It's not a good idea to be touching that, but I really should be using the snips because there's sharp bits in there, I know. So I'm not quite sure what the material is that it's made from, the actual casing. I know that the silicon chip inside, it's etched, micron, keeps going out of focus. It's like an etched circuit, a miniature circuit. Unfortunately, it just likes to go out of focus, which is really annoying me. Hang on. Better still. I'm zooming, there we go, that's better. Not an awful lot to see, to be honest. Not an awful lot. It's all microscopic anyway, so I don't have a microscope powerful enough really to see in there. There's no any magic magicians coming out of there or anything that's exciting that's going to run away, you know, any live things what you expect to see in there. I just don't know, but I was expecting to see some sort of magic genie coming out or something. But nothing like that. It's just what you can see really. It's all moulded plastic and it'll be made in the production line. Billions of them, or thousands of them anyway. Melted. I'll actually snip into this sound system, this sound speaker as well. So yeah, in Brittle, I say when you snip in, you want to see what's inside. You think it's going to be exciting, you know. Little magicians are going to run out and speak to us and say, this is how it is, and genies and all sorts of stuff. Magic. I mean, we went back about 2,000 years, it probably would be like, well, if you believe in history like that. But anyway, that's another thing. You get taught about history, how things were, but I wasn't around 2,000 years ago with my conscious knowledge of this realm anyway. But, I believe we were always around, but anyway, going off subject. Forgot when I wasn't. Yeah, I mean, it is obviously, if you know how these things work, you'll understand it, but I don't know. It take a degree to understand how these microchips work. It's just appreciate how a small thing like that. I mean, if we went back to the 60s, a thing like this, it would probably require a computer with valves about the size of a car or something. But the tiny wee chip like this has been, all that computing power from say the 60s has gone into a chip about the size of your, you know, a 10 pence piece. You know, it's amazing that they could compress all that technology into. It's done through the transistors, microchips. Before the valve was the early predecessor, the transistor, vacuum valves and stuff, which are obviously big and cumbersome. But anyway, yeah, I'm going to break into this sound producer thing. So again, in the list of use of these snips. So I normally use my right hand to do stuff, but because I'm filming, I'm doing it live. Well, not live, but I'm filming it as I'm doing it. So the only way I could do it is use my left hand. So that's a film what's going on at the same time. No, there's like a kind of shell. Now that's probably sharp, so again, you wouldn't want to be touching that. But I could only assume that that bit of metal or foil would vibrate at a very, very high frequency to produce a very high pitched beep. And this gel-like cover, or whatever the heck is that gel's the glue, but this the shell-like, breaking up like an eggshell, probably just to protect it. It's maybe got to vibrate between there and there. There's got to be a vacuum or a gap between it so it could vibrate at a high frequency. I don't really know how this works. I'm not going to disturb my dad at the moment, he's busy. He would understand it, but if you want to know how it works, just Google it. That's probably what I say to do right now if you really want to know. Right now I can't get hung up on that, I'm going to have to get to the next part. Right, so I broke into the chip. I'll see what, I think this may be quartz, because the last thing I done in a disassembling video was an old clock and it had a quartz circuit in it, and it looked similar to this. So again, I'm going to get the snips out. I'm going to burst into this too. Levered it up off the circuit board because it was obviously bent down. Now the snips, at least I've got the good sense to close. I haven't got goggles on, I should, but I've got the good sense to at least close my eyes when I'm applying pressure when I'm about to feel it popping. Because if these things pop, bits go flying. And I do not want it going into my eyes. So. Right, nice clean cut, here goes. Didn't really do much, it just made a crimp. It didn't snap, and then I just crimped it. I might have to do it with both hands. Nah, it didn't really go very successfully. It's kind of just crimped it, but there doesn't seem to be very much happening anyway. I tried to reopen it with pliers, other pliers, but it's just totally destroyed. There's nothing in it. I guess it's like the quartz, opened that up, there's virtually nothing to see. Virtually nothing in it. A lot of it's just casing with a small part inside, and this casing's a protective casing. That's what most of the bulk is. One thing you never do, by the way, is do anything like that with batteries. Do not open them, burst them, because they're full of alkaline or they could be acid, and that will harm you. It's a chemical substance which could burn you, so don't piss around with like batteries. Then go away and snip into them. That's my advice. I've mentioned it anyway, so don't do it. That's all I could say. So like I say, I'm not encouraging anybody to do what I'm doing, so I'm doing it for myself. I'm doing it on my own video for entertainment purposes. So I can't be responsible for what anybody else does. I'm not encouraging you to do it. I'm just making this video for entertainment purposes only. Don't quote me on anything on it. So, but I just would not. I would definitely strongly say don't mess around with your batteries, because they have got chemicals in them which can burn and cause a lot of harm to you. So, same about anyway. Right. What was what I do now? Yeah, I'm going to break into here. There must be some sort of sensor in here to detect the magnets on the bottoms of the chess pieces. I've already burst into capacitors before on a video. There's not much in them. I'm not doing it on every video. I've done them on previous ones. So it's time to... This is a non-serviceable part, by the way. I don't see how they could open this up to actually see anything in it without breaking into it. So breaking into it, I will do. I'll find something out in my dad's toolbox in order to carry out that task. So I'm going to enlist the help from my friendly hammer. This comes in handy for gentle persuasion. Okay, so it looks like there isn't an awful lot in here. Now, I don't know just what the story is with this ribbon wire, but I must make contact with something. There's some kind of circuitry in there, sandwiched in there, and there seems to be something. This is getting more interesting. This is getting more interesting. Right, now, seems like there's sensors here. There's maybe little sensors that will make contact. You can see how the printed circuit board, the actual wiring is going up from the ribbon cable. There's lots of wires, or not wires, but channels, or let's go lines, if you like, that do the similar job to wires. And they each go to the sensors on here, which must be activated with the magnets that are in. Now this screw's not magnetic, is it? Or is it? Yeah, it is. No, it's iron. So, but the board isn't magnetic because it's not causing the screw to stick to it. But the chess pieces are magnetic. So when the magnet here comes into contact or comes near this sensor, it will then send a signal through all these lines, electrical lines, through the ribbon wire. So it's just got the connector bit at the end, which makes contact with the circuit board. So that connects into there, so that signal will go through the circuit board, eventually to the motherboard, and you can see where the lines were, with the motherboard, where it was. And it does the decisions. That's what makes the counting. Well, there's a nice view of it. Now I don't know if that crystal, if it was crystal, not the thing I broke in earlier, this, it may have a quartz in there to set the timer for the frequency for the microprocessor, because quartz keeps an accurate frequency. That's why they use it in clocks and counters and stuff. And this being effectively a counter, it may use the quartz as a base frequency to calibrate the circuit. Perhaps, I don't know, but I'm guessing. Just what I reckon anyway. So I just ripped this off. This was adhesive. It was stuck onto this substance. The plastic bit There's not really much more, that's just what holds it together. It's what's sandwiched now. There's this sensor thing board that's sandwiched between the actual plastic and the game board. That's the chessboard. Chessboard's got the, I don't think they're conductors, I think that's just there as a marker. I don't really know what, I don't see that being conducted. I think that's just markers maybe during the manufacturing process, but these do look like the conductors. There's an electrical coil. There must be something that goes on anyway. When the magnet comes to this, it must cause a, it will detect the magnet being there, which will then go through the microprocessor and it will basically operate the whole game, if you like. And we've got the buttons here that will, operate the game as well. But this is, I'm not going to peel all that off, it's just a nuisance, but it is just stuck on with adhesive. The plastic, it's just there as a base plate, that's what holds it together. That's sandwiched between that and this. And that's just like a kind of thin plastic as well. That's a kind of thicker plastic, and it's sharp as well, so, and there's this like foil type stuff. I don't think that, does actually come off. Let's just see if we can peel even more off. So, this must be the conductive printed paper with the electrical lines in them. So, and that's the ribbon cable contact ends here. It's all one piece. It's all one diaphragm or membrane, or whatever you call it. Membrane maybe. This is aluminium, and that's really stuck on quite considerably. I won't really, there's not much point anyway. It's sharp and it's just pointless. There's nothing there. That's just like a base plate for this electrical membrane to go on. So in the game it'll have all the coinciding with the game, all these parts. I don't know where the actual, I didn't play chess, but I'll maybe keep a couple of these pages, look at them later. There's all the different parts. I'm not sure, just no, it's in different languages. So obviously all these markings will be all correspondent. This is in a different language. There's quite a lot of literature that I haven't even bothered my arse reading, to be honest. So I don't really play chess. I just took a couple of pages I might get hold of just. We'll look at that later. Right, so I'll get all the parts put into an orderly fashion on the pasting table, and I'll get some photo stills and I'll go around them with the video just before I shovel it into a black bag and tidy up, because there's lots of wee bits to tidy. Okay, so I've got a sort of, well, in a wee bit of a tidier order than what it was before anyway. So starting with the casing, this is basically the main dress trims, the main case if you like for the game. And there isn't much on this plastic bit, it's just the base plate, through which you've got the reset buttons. You just put a needle through there, a pin, which makes contact with this reset button, which is housed on the plastic case. As you see, these dress bits slide on. The main board for the game fits in the centre like such. Obviously the circuit board, that would go on the underside of this. This is your main battery box. On the circuit board you've got your buttons, which basically fit on, well that's the wrong ones, but these are the correct ones for this part. These little locking rubber lock buttons just goes through these holes there, and then when you press the button, the back there just makes contact with the sensors there on the circuit board. These are just rubber. These are the little legs or the feet that go at the bottom of the plastic for the game to keep the game level. This is a fairly substantial bit of plastic so that the game is kept level and the bits, because it's sensitive membrane here, that's got to be fairly substantial to keep everything from warping, so it doesn't warp, and that's what it lasts. So it's pretty well made. Then you've got the main game bit, that's just sandwiched on. There's these bits on the bottom, and as I say, I think that's maybe just more to do with the manufacturing process. This is the actual conductive membrane. It's got circuits, the printed line circuits in there that conducts the electricity that goes through this ribbon wire, which makes contact with the plug on the circuit board. And that's the actual chess pieces. They've got magnets on the bottom of them, and that's what works the game. It detects the magnetics on here. And the actual main brain of the computer is that chip there that's no longer there now because I snapped it in half earlier. That's the sound producer that makes the beeps, I guess anyway. That's my, I'd bet that that's what that was, because there isn't any signs of any other speakers, and it could only really be that. It's a metal bit that vibrates at a high pitched frequency to give it that beeping sound. And that's just the battery cover. And you've got the little rubber feet that basically keep the game level and smooth. You know, if it's on the surface, it just stops it from sliding around. Sort of felt or something. And the liquid crystal display, I snapped that earlier just to see what was inside. Not much. The crystal seems to have settled down now. Earlier when I put pressure on it with the screwdriver, it kind of started doing this, and it takes me a while for it to go in this to set. We'll just run, the crystals will run back into there, whatever it does. And I'm maybe guessing that used to be a quartz component. There's maybe quartz in there so that the timer circuit's calibrated. Because quartz keeps a very accurate frequency, it keeps a very accurate time. The frequency is constant, that's why they use quartz in clocks. And also in counter mechanisms like such. Like this game will have a counter mechanism. So the microchip, a microprocessor will use for its logic. That's just plastic battery covers, that's the other buttons. That's just that's the feet that I unscrewed off the bottom of the case. And in the box is just a load of instructions. I've noted a couple, I'm not reading through all that, I don't need it all, it's just a couple of pages of interest that I've just took before it. I could have kept the whole book, but it was all soggy and other bits were damaged, so it was a couple of pages that I just notably reading. It's going to go in the bin anyway. I don't know if I can mark the pages, so I'll just rip them out the book and I'll just keep a hold of them for now, and then I'll dispose of them later. That's it really. I don't really have anything else that I could take apart. There's not much more I could take apart. Right, that's it. I'm just going to stick all that in a black bag and stick it in the bin. That's it, finished. There's nothing else I can do with it. So, hope you enjoyed the video, see what else I put on my channel, and thanks for watching. Okay, bye for now.